We broke it down right after the news was made official that Jaylen Brown is going to be out for the rest of the season with a torn ligament in his left wrist. Brutal news for the Celtics as well as JB. So to wish him a speedy recovery, like this video and hit that thumbs up icon. You're watching Boston Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. Let's get into the latest on this Jaylen Brown injury. Going to be out for the rest of the regular and postseason with a torn ligament in his left wrist. He got imaging over the weekend that showed the injury, and this has been an injury that has caused problems for him over the last couple of weeks, and this is a massive blow to Boston's play-in chances as well as their playoff hopes. I think it damages any possibility that the Celtics are going to make a deep run in the NBA playoffs. Yes, you still have Jayson Tatum, who at times this year has played like an MVP, but you need that second elite option, which is what Jaylen Brown has developed into, and without him, that's a massive, massive hit to this entire Celtics lineup because he has turned into one of the most lethal two-way threats across the entire NBA. So I posed this question to Celtics fans. Can the Celtics win a playoff series without the services of Jaylen Brown? Hop into the comments, get your votes in. Type W for yes, they can win a playoff series. Type L for no, they don't have a shot. Now, what does this all mean for Boston moving forward? Lot to figure out with this Jaylen Brown injury, and the big question is, when did it occur? Because Jaylen Brown did miss the last 3 games with a right ankle sprain. That occurred back on May 2nd when he and Jayson Tatum collided, got together, and both got injured at the end of that Trailblazers loss back a couple weekends ago. Turns out that on May 15th against the Los Angeles Lakers, when Jaylen Brown was driving to the hoop, fell hard on his left wrist, seemed to favor it then. Then a couple weeks later on April 27th against OKC, he's kind of doing a backdoor cut, fell on his wrist again, seemed to re-aggravate it, and since then, that wrist has been very, very problematic for JB. Really unfortunate that the injury did occur when it did, because Jaylen Brown was having the best season of his entire career since getting drafted number 3 overall out of Cal. He's developed into a lethal two-way player, one of the best in the entire NBA, and this year, he was balling out. Nearly 25 points per game, nearly 3.5 rebounds. The field goal percentage was pretty solid as well as the 3-point percentage too, and the shooting splits, really, really elite numbers for a guy coming out of Cal, was looked at as extremely, extremely raw. Field goal percentage north of 48%, 3-point percentage at nearly 40%, and his free throw percentage, some room to work on there, but 76%, a solid number for a guy who, coming out of Cal, wasn't looked at as a shooter. And that doesn't factor in the impact that Jaylen Brown has on the defensive side of the floor, where he can really lock down the opposing team's number 1 option. So is Jaylen Brown a top 5 two-way player across the NBA? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, especially with how he developed this season, how he was playing up to this point, given some of the injuries that he had to endure and this wrist injury. I think the future is really, really bright for JB. I'm going to go ahead and type my Y for yes. As for the severity of Jaylen Brown's injury, how long is it going to take him to recover? When can Boston Celtics fans expect him to ramp up and start to train for next season? Well, a teammate with the Celtics and Jaylen Brown, Romeo Langford, suffered the same injury, and he was out for 6 months. Now, that might be worst case scenario, but when you look at how these injuries have affected players in the past, the timetable kind of ranges from 3 to 6 months. So that's kind of what you're looking at in terms of the recovery for Jaylen Brown. So best case scenario, he's able to get back on the court, train for next season around maybe the August mark. Worst case scenario, a couple of months later, but he's going to be able to relate to Romeo Langford and his recovery because Romeo Langford had the same exact wrist injury. The good news here is that this injury occurred on Jaylen Brown's non-shooting hand, his left wrist. If it was on his shooting hand, that might be problematic for Jaylen Brown moving forward. This episode of Celtics Today is brought to you by our friends at Newsbreak. This is an app that I use every single morning because there's the beauty to it where you can get all of your local news from all of your favorite local news sources on one single feed. I mean, how great is that? So when I start my day, of course, I have to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the Boston Celtics, but I also kind of like to get feelers as to what else is happening in the world. Local news, weather, and crime. I just moved to Dallas, so I kind of want to get a feel for the area. Politics, pop culture, and food, as well as entertainment. You can get your sports content all on one single feed. So download the Newsbreak app right now by going to chatsports.com/CelticsNB. And the good news for Celtics fans out there, Celtics Today is on the Newsbreak app. So you can either catch us on YouTube or on the Newsbreak app and help us out. We are trying to get to 200 followers on Celtics Today on the Newsbreak app. So give us a like. Help us up that number a little bit. I'm going to put this link in the description as well as the comments. Once again, that's chatsports.com/CelticsNB. Download the Newsbreak app right now. They're a big supporter of what we do here at Chat Sports. What does this Jaylen Brown injury do for the Boston Celtics moving forward with the NBA regular season winding down, the play-in tournament right around the corner, and the NBA playoffs set to start on May 22nd? Well, let's start with what the Celtics lineup figures to be. Kemba Walker's going to play point guard. Marcus Smart is going to play the 2. Evan Fournier has a wonderful opportunity to prove that he was worth being traded for at NBA trade deadline day. Robert Williams is going to play center, and the mainstay, of course, is Jayson Tatum, who has developed into arguably a top 10 player across the league. What else does this mean for Boston? Well, Jayson Tatum is going to have to shoulder more of the load. When Jaylen Brown was on the floor and healthy, the load for Jayson Tatum, it was already pretty hefty. He's going to have to shoulder even more of that load. And what's interesting is if Jayson Tatum makes an all-NBA team, there's a possible $32 million bonus that is written in his contract where if he makes an all-NBA team, he gets to secure the bag. So you already know from here on out until the end of the regular season, he's going to be chucking up shots. He's going to be putting up numbers to try to get that $32 million. And I talked about it and alluded to it just moments ago. Evan Fournier has a wonderful opportunity to step up. He's going to get more shots, more volume, more playing time, and he's going to be able to start games for the Celtics in the absence of Jaylen Brown. Let's see what you can do. And for Marcus Smart and Kemba Walker, both guys have had a difficult year. Kemba Walker missed the start of it because of that lingering knee issue. Can't play the back end of back-to-backs because of those knee injuries. Marcus Smart missed time because of that calf injury. He's been so up and down and sporadic. They have to be more consistent for Boston to have any chance of making a deep playoff run. We talk about Jayson Tatum. This is what he's done so far this year, and I'm going to go ahead and say that these figures are going to increase. He's probably going to have to average around 30 points per game. He's going to get more shots, so the volume is going to be there. The opportunities are going to be presented. He's averaging more than 7 rebounds. That figure probably is going to stay the same. And the field goal three-point percentages, I imagine that those are going to average out, but the main point here, Jayson Tatum, he's going to have the bulk of the offense on his shoulders. He's going to get more shot opportunities, and he's going to be presented with more offensive possessions to really get buckets for this Celtics team in the absence of Jaylen Brown, whose offensive game has become pretty damn legit over time. So should Jayson Tatum make an all-NBA team? Get your votes in the comment section. Type 1 for no doubt Jayson Tatum should make an all-NBA team, or type 2 for no. Celtics have 4 games left here in the regular season, and it goes as follows. Hopefully the rematch tonight on Tuesday against the Miami Heat, much better than the matchup on Sunday when the Heat boat raced the Celtics. There's that rematch. Huge game in terms of playoff implications in the Eastern Conference. A winnable game coming up on the 12th against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Another winnable game against the Minnesota Timberwolves on the 15th. So you're looking at 2 games where Boston can chalk up dubs. Hopefully, maybe they compete better against the Heat than they did on Sunday. Then they round out the regular season May 16th against the soaring Knicks. As for the Eastern Conference standings right now, this is how things shake out. Sixers, Nets, Bucks in those 1 through 3 spots. Knicks, Hawks, they've been flip-flopping back and forth in the 4 and 5 spots. Knicks currently hold the tiebreaker at 38 and 30. And there you see the Heat, 37 and 31, 2 games up on the Boston Celtics at 35 and 33. So it looks as though the Celtics could be sitting comfortable in that 7th spot, but if it's a disaster in these last 4 games, it is a realistic possibility that they fall to the 8th or 9th spot. We'll see what happens. Celtics fans, what do you think is going to happen? Which seed are the Celtics going to get? Is it going to be the 7th seed? Is it going to be the 8th seed or the 9th seed? Slide into the comments and let me know. Playoffs are coming up, play-in tournament. Hey, we're not far away from it. And wherever the Celtics make it, whether they're in the playoffs or in the play-in, we have you covered here on Celtics Today. So if you haven't subscribed, do so right now. Hit that big red button down below or go to youtube.com/CelticsTV.